supplied goods and service conformity assessment activities in order to provide objective evidence demonstrating conformity to requisite programs and requirements. Conformity assessment is basically a set of processes used to determine if products, services, processes, or systems meet requirements of a relevant standard. The main typical techniques used in conformity assessment include testing, inspection, validation, verification, certification, and accreditation. The Quality Assurance Department has 3 units responsible for the provision of product testing, validation, or calibration of industrial measuring equipment, as well as certification of management systems and products. Testing Services Unit. Purposes of testing include measuring the effects of aging on products. This is an accelerated life testing which determines the amount of time a product can spend on the shelf. Safety determines if a product is safe for human or animal consumption. Verification for trade. This is a test made to confirm if products meet requirements specified by customers and importing countries. Barriers to trade determines if or verifies that the requirement of a specification or regulation prescribed by importing countries are met to reduce barriers to trade. Liability claims. Product testing produces results as evidence in matters of liability, patents, product claims, etc. The authority currently provides testing for alcohol-based hand sanitizers for the purposes of verifying alcohol content and compare the amounts to the product standard and related requirements. This test is predominantly used by manufacturers of the alcohol-based hand sanitizers and regulators. Currently, the authority is setting up a testing structure to provide nutritional analysis of food and fertilizers. This is part of the infrastructural growth the authority is undergoing in order to make testing readily accessible to local industry. For other testing services that cannot be handled internally, the authority identifies a credible testing facility on behalf of clients and then facilitates the testing. This facilitation ensures that the test report has a high degree of admissibility for various purposes, including facilitation of product acceptance in the market. The testing services are provided to the following: developers of new products, manufacturing industries, consumer protection agencies, suppliers or retailers of untested products, individuals, regulators, industrial metrology or calibration unit. Metrology is the science of measurement, whereas calibration is the process of ascertaining if a measuring instrument can produce reliable measurement results and then provide values that estimate the difference between the values provided by the measuring equipment and the true measurement value. In metrology, it is an established fact that there is no true measurement value due to various sources of uncertainty, hence the need to perform calibration and estimate the amount of error associated with each measuring instrument at a given time. The following are common areas of industrial metrology obtaining in the Kingdom of Eswatini: length, mass, pressure, temperature, volume. Current functions of the calibration unit include industrial calibration. This is to ensure that mass measuring equipment used in industry give accurate, reliable results that are traceable to international standards. Service, maintenance of weighing scales or instruments used in industry and the health sector. Repairs to all makes and models of weighing instruments that are found to be faulty. The calibration services are provided to the following: production and manufacturing sector, food, clothing, equipment, etc. Health, clinics and hospitals. Aviation, distance, temperature, wind speed, etc. Weather forecasting, weather station equipment. Certification unit. The authority is further mandated to administer certification marks for both management systems and product certification schemes. In light of this mandate, the authority has made available the Lihau mark for management system certification and also the Liqabesha mark for product certification. The certification marks are issued to products and/or services, processes, and systems that demonstrate conformity to national and international standards. A written attestation is provided as evidence that products and/or services, processes, and systems have been verified by our competent audit teams and found to have satisfactorily conformed to requirements of known standards. To ensure competence of the management systems and product certification schemes, SWASA has implemented ISO or IEC 17021 and ISO or IEC 17065 standards respectively in order to provide competent certification services. Certification has the following benefits: increased market share, increased efficiencies, that is, reduced costs and wastage, increased consistency in practices and product or service quality, increased customer satisfaction, increased risk management, increased access to financial support services, reduced liability risk, provides for continuous systematic verification of effectiveness, improved credibility and image. The certification services are provided to the following: producers and suppliers of products, producers and suppliers of service.
Gaming is magic. Sure, the avatars you play with might just be characters on a screen, but the excitement, that's real. If you can feel it, it must be real. And that's real magic.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sunny Boyengon alongside Zamanzi Manzi. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Mbabane. Let's take a look at our headlines. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has advised the nation that the Sibaya National Dialogue process will commence soon, and a technical committee has been set up to prepare for the dialogue. On another note, the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini says it is regrettable that there are people who are trying to undermine the dialogue process by being involved in criminal acts such as arson, violence and terrorism. And the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Basugu says officers from his office work with vulnerable groups. And now the news in detail. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has advised the nation that the Sibaya National Dialogue process will commence soon, and a technical committee has been set up to prepare for the dialogue. Now, the Prime Minister was speaking during a press meeting held at the Cabinet offices in Mbabane.
In a press meeting held at Cabinet offices on Wednesday, the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini advised the nation that the Sibaya National Dialogue process will commence soon. The Prime Minister says a technical committee has been set up in order to satisfy the obligation of ensuring that the dialogue takes place in a transparent, peaceful and inclusive manner.
In order to satisfy the obligation of ensuring that the dialogue takes place in a transparent, peaceful and inclusive manner, the preparatory work is at an advanced stage. A technical committee has been set up to prepare for the dialogue. The committee will ensure that the dialogue is conducted in line with the relevant constitutional frameworks, which have always encouraged dialogue and resolution of issues under Sibaya. Furthermore, His Majesty King Mswati III is committed to making sure that every voice is heard and respected during the process of the dialogue. It is appreciated that there will be divergent views and robust debates which will all be welcomed, since free and full expression is all at the heart of the dialogue process.
The Prime Minister also mentioned that during the National Sibaya Dialogue, there will be a divergent views and robust debates, which all will be welcomed, since free and full expression is at the heart of the dialogue process. On another note, the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has set aside 20 million malangeni for the National Sibaya Dialogue process. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Suekoza with Muzim Konta, Mbabane.
On another note, the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini says it is regrettable that there are people who are trying to undermine the dialogue process by being involved in criminal acts such as arson, violence and terrorism. Now, the Prime Minister was speaking during a press meeting held at Cabinet offices in Mbabane.
It is regrettable that there are people who are trying to undermine the dialogue process by being involved in criminal acts such as arson, violence, and terrorism. These individuals, supported by subversive foreign entities and revolutionary groups, have waged a campaign of violence against Eswatini with guns, petrol bombs, explosives, and other weapons in order to destabilize the kingdom. The consequences of these actions are blamed on the government in a relentless campaign of disinformation. It is painful that Eswatini have been victimized by terrorist acts, reduced to poverty, and bear the brunt of intimidation and disinformation. Violence, intimidation, banning, looting, and terrorism is not consistent with the path to dialogue that the country has chosen and has always embraced. I would like to encourage Eswatini to jealously guard and protect the peace and the security that the country has always enjoyed. It must be emphasized that violence will not be tolerated in this process and that all peace-loving Eswatini must shun and condemn those who seek to incite them.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, says officers from his office work with vulnerable groups. Masuku says these officers understand that their assignment is to serve the entire nation. Masuku was speaking during the official launch of the Deputy Prime Minister's office retreat.
The three-day meeting for the Deputy Prime Minister's office is meant to assist officers to strategize on the work that needs to be done this financial year. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku commended the officers from his office for working so selflessly, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic era and also during the time of civil unrest.
So we have a contract with society, and that contract is so important that we know that we ought to deliver according to the contract. Lapha nje angikaqhashwa nje ukuthi sikhanze endleleni uthi ufuna umsebenzi, niqhashe ngale skill leninaso ukuze into ukhona ukuthi le contract leninayo ne society kube I contract leta ukhona ukuthi iphumelele. You are serving ngale contract ngoba le idea ukuthi osiqhashiwe ngiyo lele vama ukusiphambanisa singakhona ukusebenza kahle. Lapha nje si contract still serve asikahlaleli ukuthi sitohola nje. Sito serve. Kuyehluphe ukuthi labantu lesibasevako bathi nabefike office ufune I shortcut yokuthi ahambe angakatholi la kufunako. Leyo shortcut leyo ngiyo lelenta ukuthi bantu lengaphandle le contract yethu lesinayo na ingabi contract le jabulelekako.
Masuku says officers require a heart of gold to be able to serve since they don't just work like ordinary employees. For Eswatini TV News on Domlangeni, Mbabane.
Examinations Council of Eswatini notifies the nation that the Form 3 and Grade 7 end-of-year academic results will be out tomorrow on the 31st of March 2022. The Communications Officer at the Examinations Council, Hlengwendlovu, says this follows the approval of the results by the Examinations Council Board and the Executive. The Communications Officer says the results will be officially delivered by the Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, tomorrow. We continue with the news. The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, has launched the UNESCO Education for Sustainable Development ESD prize competition for schools under UNESCO's Associated Schools Project Network, APSINET. Now, there are currently 74 actively participating schools in APSINET.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, has launched the first UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development prize competition under UNESCO's Associated Schools Project Network, ASPINET. ASPINET is a global network of schools whose main objective is to promote quality education in pursuit of peace and sustainable development. One of the first schools to join ASPINET in the Kingdom of Eswatini in 1994 was the Waterford Kamhlaba United World College. Speaking during the launch, the minister said this ESD prize will motivate a large number of schools and learning institutions to help learners to achieve a sustainable quality of life.
This ESD prize will promote a whole school institutional approach towards transforming learning and training environments by integrating sustainability principles into education and training settings, and also building capacities of educators and trainers as stated in priority 2 and 3 of the roadmap for ESD for 2030, developed by UNESCO. This will indeed increase the capacities of educators and trainers to more effectively deliver ESD. Educators remain key actors in facilitating learners' transition to sustainable ways of life. In an age where information is available everywhere and their role is undergoing great change.
Lead of the Waterford Kamhlaba United World College ESD project, Stephen McCracker, unpacked their ESD project.
We've got 6 sustainable projects going on at the campus. The one is solar power to lower our energy consumption at the school. The other one is our water harvesting. So we harvest the extra rainwater and store it. And then we also have a water storage plant at the top of the school where we store 340,000 litres of water at all times, and then we purify it and filter it before it's fed to the school. The other project is our biodigester, where we use the waste food from the cafeteria, which goes into a biodigester and gets broken down and produces a flammable gas, which then in turn gets used to heat the hot water for the school to wash the dishes. And then an excess slurry, which is a liquid fertilizer by the name of bokashu, and that is used on our vegetable gardens to produce the vegetables.
On another note, there are 74 actively participating schools in Eswatini in the ASPINET project, and 5 highly competent schools will be awarded on the ESD project in November this year. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Suekoza in Papane.
The Minister of Health, Liz Ngosi, says it is disappointing that vaccines will be destroyed when the vaccination rate is still this low. She says they will destroy the vaccines when the expiry dates nears.
The Minister of Health, Liz Ngosi, says government will have no choice but to destroy unused vaccines when expiry dates nears because it would be dangerous to use them. She says, unfortunately, we are still at 29% vaccination rate and available vaccines which will have to be destroyed. She encourages Eswatini to vaccinate for COVID-19 to avoid possible COVID-19 deaths.
Vaccines wathola abe nema-dates lahlukene expiry date. So nangabe kungajova vele kutaba khona lelo dlanzana lelitsite lelitakwenteka ukuthi silidestroy. Kodwa lesikwethembako ukuthi kulala khona kwanyalo sive sitaqhubeka siwathathe siwasebenzise ukuze singabi sengodini lapha tawudestroyeka khona. Kuba ingodi vele ngoba lama vaccines anempilo lesithe kwawona. So nayifika kithi tawusho ukuthi ngalelanga lelengozi noma sewuthola umthwalo uvama ukuthi kube nemithwadlwana la ngekhasi lephela ngemalanga lahlukene. So siyasizama ukusebenzisa lo phela kucala. Kodwa nasibona soyaphela sibeke eceleni siyawudestroya nangabe usengasebenzi. Siyasikhuthaza ke sive ukuthi asijove. Umjovo u-free, umjovo effective. Umjovo utasivikela sonke. Ukube nje bese sifike ku-70% ndonankulu lamuhla ngawumemetela ukuthi nje sekude baba sekude ama restrictions sesibuyele ka level 0 sesibuyele ka normal. Manje-ke sesengefiki lapho siyadzinga ukuthi sifikele ka-herd immunity lapho.
339,080 have vaccinated for COVID-19, which makes 29.2% of the total population in Eswatini. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi, Mbabane.
The Public Accounts Committee Chairperson Musa Kunene says 46 schools were audited out of 900 where it discovered that 8 schools used unauthorized 5 million expenditure. Kunene was speaking in the House of Assembly when presenting recommendations on the Auditor General's audit report on the use of school funds in public schools.
The Public Accounts Committee presented the committee's recommendations on the Auditor General's audit report on the use of funds in public schools for the financial year ended on the 31st of December 2018. The chairperson, Musa Kunene, says 46 schools were audited, whilst 4 schools didn't appear before the commission. Kunene says government spent 176,000 emalangeni on unexisting OVCs.
The committee I said you need to think asati ukuthi bengas involved nje ebetendela headmaster noma headmaster ebetendela na chairman kuphela nje sinye isikolo Mr Speaker Mr Speaker ngibashonisa angathi kusitawele kanjani sikhona la drobheni esikolo lapho nakhona sikhanze ukuthi nje bangabe kune speech and trust giving day ukhanza ukuthenga iKFC kunikela ama student first table ulanje ilo khonje catering company pheke sakhanza ukuthi lapha kuvulena from 6 lo ngekho nasemthethweni lapho nakhona abatali bagcine sebabhadara imali enganga 162,000 emalangeni babhadara lo tisha baka form 6 lena lo form 6 abazange bathola le authority kusesikolo singamvula form 6 angabakho.
Kunene says it was discovered that 9 schools couldn't collect school fees amounting to 1 million emalangeni. Members of Parliament deliberated on the report, and some raised concerns that some of these challenges are as a result of committee chairpersons who bully head teachers. Some MPs raised concerns that the grant that governments provide is not sufficient for school operations. Some MPs alleged that some schools were banned to get rid of evidence.
FPE vele incane bahlonishwa litiko alikubuke noma the time kune enrollment lencane vele futhi kuncane kakhulu lokuthola
ngithi ke bahlonishwa ngesihle le report because ungabo lebakhumthe abayithathe le report bayibusele emuva babuyise basho basiba recommenda ukuthi labo tishela ukuthi speak isikudulile urana school.
Members of Parliament halted the adoption of the committee's report following a number of concerns that includes the fact that the recommendations do not include punishment for those who misused the funds in schools. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Parliament.
The acting principal in the Ministry of Labour, Anthony Masilele, says as the ministry, they thrive to comply with the labour laws, thus they make it a point to meet with all stakeholders to discuss a way forward and possible collaborations. Masilele was speaking at the Royal Villas in Eswatini during an MOU signing with different labour organisations.
The Ministry of Labour had a meeting with its different partners, including different organizations, through the help of the International Labour Organization, ILO, to discuss synergies and way forward through an MOU signing. This will include possible collaborations to develop strategic compliance planning portal. The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Labour, Anthony Masilele, who represented the Principal Secretary, says as a ministry, they are trying to comply with labour laws.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, in an effort to fully operationalize the Eswatini Strategic Compliance Plan portal, has identified other government ministries, departments, units, public enterprises, and other stakeholders with which it can form synergies. Hence, this very meeting we are in today. In creating these synergies, the ultimate aim is the signing of cooperative memorandum of understanding which will clearly spell out the areas of collaborations and mutual gains of both entities. The workshop will therefore give the ILO an opportunity to briefly explain the background of the strategic compliance planning portal tool and how it is going to assist the Kingdom of Eswatini. While also the Ministry of Labour and Social Security will get an opportunity to explain in detail and sensitize all of you congregated in this place about the Eswatini SCP portal and its benefits thereof. This workshop will also provide opportunities for the entities to ask questions on the proposed collaborations before the initiation of bilateral negotiation towards the signing of an MOU. Colleagues, in conclusion, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security would like to thank the ILO office in Pretoria, South Africa, particularly Ntate Mandoro, and the Swiss office in Geneva for the continuous technical support we are getting in Eswatini.
Among stakeholders present were CIMAC, Business Eswatini, amongst other organizations. Other partners joined the event virtually. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB at the Royal Villas, Eswatini.
The Indian High Commissioner to Eswatini, Radha Venkataraman, has donated as well of the Indian people. Now, the books were received by the university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Justice Twala.
In an exchange of culture between Eswatini and India, the Indian High Commission has donated 75 books to the library of the University of Eswatini, Waluseni campus. These are books about history, religion, life and culture of the Indian people. The Indian High Commissioner to Eswatini, Radha Venkataraman, says she is happy that Emaswati participated in a virtual event called Study in India, where over 70 Emaswati students participated. She says the 2022-2023 scholarships applications are now open.
It gives me immense pleasure to present a set of very fascinating and interesting books received from the Public Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, to the University Library. These books contain a wealth of information on India's rich heritage, culture, history, art, literature, polity, yoga, and culinary skills, and many more. As the Vice-Chancellor already...
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, Professor Justice Twala, says these books will help the understanding of deep knowledge on the Indian history and life because Emaswati and Indians are now partners.
As a witness to the promise made in September, today we have the first set of 75 books donated by the Indian High Commission, which are in the areas of Indian history, culture and religion. We are extremely happy to see that the wishes of our library and the Faculty of Humanities are partly fulfilled through this donation.
Professor Twala says as part of their programs, a digital library is in the pipeline. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Ekwaluseni.
Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, the news continues. To stay with us and don't go anywhere.
Ngacishe ngatibambelela kucala kunathe ama-ARVs ngesaba imvuka lesoloko kukhulunywa ngayo sekuphela umnyaka ngawaqala solo siphethene kahle ngikhumbula kahle ukuthi angimelanga ukuthi ngize ngigule noku namhla solo ngingumcemane ngiyatichenya ngalesinqumo ngitawuqhubeka ngwanathe ngikwethembeka solo ngime kuso sinqumo sami ngigrand ngisukumele impilo yami
kuva kabandi shayela 1212.
Hey guys, let's take a selfie.
Oh, wait.
Woo!
Get it.
It's a video.
We, the young, are not a complicated bunch. You see, we take each day as a clean slate, a chance to experience more. Why turn down the volume when you can turn up the vibe? It's never about the destination, it's about the journey. And this is so true when it comes to South Africa. This land wants you to live in the here and now.
The coolest.
And not in some hashtag, because a place this timeless doesn't follow trends, it sets them. And her people have a way of making you feel at home. So come touch, taste, and live South Africa. There's so much more to see. Come journey with us.
It's Easter, and that means more guests at the door, more flavor in the pot, and more delicious food on the table. Get even more with incredible Easter specials like Spa Long Life Milk for only $74.99 and 2-liter liquid fruit for just $32.99. With everything you need for an Easter of more, only at your favorite Spa store.
It's the OK Easter Hunt for $1 million. We're hiding $1 million in vouchers inside OK stores, and you can stand a chance to join the hunt and win your share. Simply buy any 2 participating products and swipe your count-on card, or enter by following the instructions on your till slip, and you could be selected to take part in the Easter Hunt in your local OK store. Don't miss the Easter Hunt for $1 million. Only at OK, owners you can count on.
We are still with the news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. I'm Saneboy Ngwane. Right now, we shall move on to the financial market and see how our markets are performing today in a financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Right now, we shall take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. The Eswatini top female sprinter Bonga Mahlalele says her focus is currently on trying to qualify for this year's African Champs and Mauritius and Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England. Mahlalele says, taking part of the regional competitions is one way she's using for her preparations.
Local female top sprinter Bonga Mahlalele is in hard preparation ahead of this year's big schedule of some of the biggest tournaments, such as the African Champs in Mauritius and the Commonwealth in England.
Firstly, silungiselela African Champs and Commonwealth Games, but it's quite so.
Speaking to Eswatini TV Sports Desk, Mahlalele mentioned that preparations are going accordingly as she's expected to head to the Republic of South Africa in few days ahead for a regional competition that will assist in her preparations. Mahlalele says she's confident she will qualify based on her current time of 24 seconds, 0.38, with the required time for qualification being 24 seconds, 0.24.
I think if we play a lot of competitions to compete on, because the more you compete, the more you improve. Yeah, in South Africa.
The African Champs Games in Mauritius will begin on the 8th to the 12th of June this year, with the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England, beginning on the 28th of July to the 8th of August this year. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
Babane Swallows and Manzini Wanderers failed to collect maximum points when the league resumed today. Swallows played a 1-1 draw against Milling Hotspurs, while Young Buffaloes put 5 past Manzini Wanderers. Both games were played at Bavuzo Sports Centre in Manzini.
MTN Premier League games resumed on Wednesday at the Bavuzo Sports Centre when Babane Swallows lined up against Milling Hotspurs. Hotspurs showed their early strength in the first half when opening a score on a beautiful free kick by Bongmenzi Dlamini. Swallows had a chance to equalize before the end of the first half when Banele Skonze was brought down in the box, but Sandile Satrago failed to net the penalty. In the second half, Swallows picked up where they had left and ended up getting an equalizer thanks to their experienced midfielder Njaburo Ndlovu. The game ended on that note, with both sides sharing a point. In the second game, Young Buffaloes visited Manzini Wanderers, where within 7 minutes of the game, Buffaloes had already opened the score. 25 minutes into the game, Buffaloes doubled their lead to keep themselves in a good position before Wanderers striker Fabrice Mopina opened the score for the Manzini Giants just 3 minutes before the end of the first half. On the final whistle of the first half, Buffaloes netted their third. In the second half, Sihlangu Semnigati informed Sandile Saviola Gametse, who seemed to be back to his best, netted the fourth before coming once again a few minutes later to net his second of the game and fifth of the team. Wanderers got their second goal just 2 minutes before the final whistle of the game. The game ended on that note with Buffaloes leading 5-2. In other games, Green Mamba held Royal Leopard to 2-2 draw, while Babane Highlanders beat Manzini Seabirds 3-2. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Manzini.
Well, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories tonight. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has advised the nation that the Sibaya National Dialogue process will commence soon, and a technical committee has been set up to prepare for the dialogue. On another note, the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini says it is regrettable that there are people who are trying to undermine the dialogue process by being involved in criminal acts such as arson, violence and terrorism. And the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Basuki says officers from his office work with vulnerable groups. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, it's been a pleasure indeed. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.